Hi and welcome, my friends, to the show that never ends. And as you see, Kieran's back in his normal studio in Portsmouth. Comfortable last night, was it, Kieran? Out of my snoring range?
No, I can still hear you from here, fella.
Yeah, I did have complaints from different rooms in the house while we got him, his brother, and his brother's girlfriend knocking around. We took Kieran back to Portsmouth yesterday, and just to say, Kay, my wife, said hello to one of his his mates in the toilet who didn't bother locking the door. And I'd also just at this point like to say, Priya, tidy your bloody room, Priya. That was dreadful. That was shocking. You left your door open, but my goodness, what a state.
Well, it was almost like
sad.
It was almost like she was advertising the fact that it was messy.
Yes, it was shocking, Priya. Do something about it. Now, we've all met Priya before. She was the one that walked through the door a few weeks ago, so you all know her. Football on this day, on the 1st of January 1965, in the New Year's Honours list, Stanley Matthews became the first professional footballer to be awarded a knighthood while still a player. His only league appearance in 64-65 was also his last, against Fulham on the 6th of February 65, shortly after his 50th birthday. Akinfenwa, you got a way to go, mate. He had made his league debut in 1932, but in later years said that he regretted retiring so early, believing he could have played on for another couple of years. Akinfenwa, I hope you're listening. Football on this day, on the 5th of January 1963. That was quite a few years ago now. I should know. I was born then. The big freeze meant that. Now, this I thought was interesting because of all the sort of rescheduling of football matches at the moment. How about this one? The big freeze meant that only 3 of the scheduled 32 FA Cup third-round ties were played, with the last tie in that round not being decided until March the 11th. The Lincoln versus Coventry tie was postponed a total of 15 times, and 14 of the other ties suffered 10 or more postponements. Between December the 8th and 16th February, Bolton did not play a single competitive match. So there you go. It's not just COVID. It's also, well, they obviously didn't like the bad weather in those days. Wimps, obviously. Today, what have we got to discuss today? Well, we are getting round to the referees, and I showed Kieran where I got some of the info. So he's got a bit of know-how on this topic. But we've also obviously got Wycombe have played 2 games in a week. Hey, we're up. And I watched one of them and obviously didn't watch Charlton's game. So I saw them lose and missed the win. And then, of course, we've got 1 or 2 other things in the Premier League, and we've got Kieran's quiz time. But we're going to start with your quiz time, I think, and then move on to Wycombe. And can I just say, I know everybody sort of presses there, listen to the Wycombe bit, then off. But I would really, really, really recommend you listen to the refs bit. Did think about putting it in before Wycombe, but it's really interesting. I watched a Liverpool match a few weeks ago where some of the decisions I thought was shocking, and I wanted to know which one was it. Was sent a player off and sent a player off?
Kane and Robertson.
That's right, Kane and Robertson, where Kane got away with it, and everybody's saying it's because he's the England captain, that he can do what he likes. But Robertson's, which was a foul, got sent off. Now, let's be fair, with Robertson on that pitch yesterday, would it have made a difference? Well, who knows? But without Kane on the pitch, would that have made a difference this weekend?
Probably.
So who knows? But that decision does make a big difference for the following 3 games. So I wanted to know, do the referees have to answer for their actions? So I looked it up and I found lots of bits and pieces, and I actually ended up falling on the referee's side of the fence, having read what I read. But I also think, that's it. I think I fell that side. But we'll explain that a bit later. But please listen to that. It is really interesting, I think. Did you think it was interesting?
Yes, Michael.
Good. Right. Okay. Let's stop there to get the piece of music in. Okay, Kieran's quiz time. Here we go. Liverpool Football Club. 5 questions. Are you ready?
Yes, boss.
How many goals did this is the season of 1920.
So the season we won the league.
20. How many goals did the leading scorer score in the league? This is
not just for Liverpool.
It doesn't make that clear, but 17, 18 or 19?
19.
Why'd you say that?
Because it was Salah, wasn't it? And
Okay.
I think he got 19. I might be wrong.
No,
Yeah.
you did.
No.
I was just trying to put you off. How many games were left when Liverpool won the league? 5, 6 or 7?
6.
Wrong, 7.
Was it? We were that good, were we?
You were that good. Not this year. Who was the first choice goalkeeper during the season? Adrian, Alisson, Keller.
Kelleher. Alisson.
Yep.
That's disrespectful to my knowledge of Liverpool, you asking that question.
Oh, sorry. How many players were used in total during the season? 20, 22, 24?
20 is too little. 24 seems... 24.
You're correct. And how many league titles have Liverpool now won? 17, 18 or 19?
19 times.
It is. So you've got 1 wrong. 1 wrong so far. Okay. Let me just move that book along. Oh, too far. There we go. And go away. There. Okay, and now to the Football League. English Premier League quiz. Now, this is about players' titles in the Premier League. Okay, so these are all winners. Who are the only 2 players to win Premier League titles with both City and Arsenal?
2 players.
2. Get half a point for each.
Vieira and City and Arsenal.
Quick.
No, I couldn't tell you.
No. Well, it's Toure and Clichy.
Oh yeah. Oh, they that early? Fair enough.
Premier League, mate.
Yeah, but Arsenal won it years ago.
Know that. Who is the only player to win Premier League titles with both Blackburn and Manchester United? 1 player. This you've got to know your stuff to get this.
I was going to say, am I going to know the?
You're not going to get this.
No, not clue.
Henningberg.
No.
No.
Never heard of him.
You might get this. Who is the only South Korean player to have a Premier League winners medal?
Jason Park.
Sorry?
Jason Park.
Yeah, they read it Park Ji-sung, but whichever way round, Ji-sung Park, Ji Park Sung, I don't know.
No.
Who is the only Mexican player to have a Premier League winners medal?
Javier Hernandez.
You're correct. Very good. Very good. Who did he win it with?
Man United. He was a small little striker.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And 2 players have won Premier League titles with Arsenal and Chelsea. Can you name them both? You'll get half a point for each.
Ashley Cole. Arsenal and Chelsea.
Quick.
Don't know.
Anelka. So you get 6.5 points in total. Not bad, not bad. 6.5 points. Anybody out there beat that? Get nothing? I don't know. I would have had trouble with all of them. Sungji, what's it? I would have got him. Whether I'd said his name right or not is a different matter.
Would you have got that one?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. When you said Hernandez, I thought that was obvious after you gave the answer, but isn't that usually the way? Okay, end of quiz. Okay, now we move on to Wycombe Wanderers. Now, did you watch? No, you didn't watch, because I know because you were in theory here, but of course Kieran can't get out of the habit of going out on the town, man, as he's a student. Where were you?
What was I was doing?
I don't know, but you weren't here.
I was probably at the pub.
Probably. Well, first of all, there was no Gareth Ainsworth either. He was ill. Wycombe, also, other points were worth mentioning was Wycombe had 18 days off from a football match. It's questionable, is that a plus or a minus? You can get out of the momentum of running for it when you've had a lazy 18 days. On the other hand, it could be a good rest, feet up break. I don't know which that is. And I think that's not a team thing. I think that's an individual thing. So again, when they talk about it on TV, I think they get it wrong by even suggesting, is it good for the football team? I don't think it's got anything to do with the football team. I think it's the individual. Ipswich had just lost their manager, and that wasn't good for Wycombe because, as we know, when a new manager comes in, I don't understand that, but it does seem to happen that when a new manager comes in, that football team play excellent football. Why?
Trying to impress the manager.
But maybe. don't they want to win anyway?
You would have thought, wouldn't you?
So is it belief?
Maybe it's a bit of freedom because the manager just goes out and says, do what you have been doing because I can't teach you within 2 or 3 days what I want you to do. And let's be honest,
Cook's a bit of a wally, and so for him to have left is probably a bonus. He's one of the players on the roundabout that keeps falling off into a football team, wrecks it, and then ops back on again. In my book, I don't rate it. I mean, they gave him the money to go out and spend, and he got rid of a whole football team and brought a whole new football team in, and it was shocking. And he can't get them to play football. They're mid-table. For goodness sake, they're mid-table. And whoever employs Cook next really seriously needs to look at that.
Should we have a look at what he's won?
You can have a look at what Cook's won.
Yeah.
Paul Cook, isn't it? Paul Cook.
Paul Cook. As a manager, he's won League Two twice. He's won League One once with Wigan, but then you should win League One with Wigan probably. But yeah, he's won League Two with Portsmouth and Chesterfield. That's about it. He's got some Manager of the Month awards, but that doesn't really count.
No.
So.
And what about his winning record then? Is that up there?
Probably should be, shouldn't it? Managerial statistics. He's played 715 and won 302, which is a win percentage of 42.2.
So that ain't bad.
But then he was at Sligo Rovers for 5 years, which is in Ireland, which brings up the percentage quite considerably. Okay.
Well, there you go. I wouldn't go near him with a barge pole, is be what I say. Now, what happened? Well, Wycombe played a 3-4-3, in my opinion. That is my opinion. They seem to keep saying other things on the TV. Sometimes it was a 3-4-2-1, depending on, 1 minute you're attacking, the next minute you're defending, what you do, how you move around, etc., etc. But basically, Wycombe were playing the idea of 5 at the back stuff by having the 3 centre backs. One of those centre backs was Farino Joseph. What did I think to Farino Joseph?
I think his name is Joseph Farino.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure it's...
Well, with Sung, it was all different ways round. I don't know. Kane Harry. And I don't mean that, by the way.
What?
It wasn't supposed to be a pun. I just mentioned that now.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want a Kane Harry. And what did I think to him? I thought he was... Well, actually, I split them up into 2 groups of 3, and there were 5 players left out, and he was one of the 5 players left out. He neither played well or played badly against Ipswich. I thought he did his job, and so he'll get a pass for that.
Probably as a young player, that's probably what you want, though, isn't it?
He's not going. You did not want him picking the ball up as a centre back and decided to do an 80-yard run, really, or taking the ball down on Wycombe's goal line and dribbling the ball away. You don't want him to do that. You want him to belt it, and belt it he did. Now, funnily enough, one of these, say we lost 1-0 to a very scrappy goal on the 45th minute, which in most teams' books is the time the ball goes in the net, between 40 and 50 or in the last 5 minutes. And sure enough, that is when they scored. That is when I had my head in my hands thinking, goodness sake, don't let a goal in now. And sure enough, a scrappy goal, and in it goes. Anybody to blame? Well, Wycombe didn't play well in this game. Did they deserve to win it, Ipswich 1-0? I would say yes. I put Obita's name up there with a tick to start with, until I realised actually, instead of having 3 good, 3 bad, I ended up with 2 good, 4 bad. And Obita slid from the good into the bad and nowhere near the middle. And I want to explain why that was. That was because he seemed in the play the whole time. He had so much of the ball. He did so much with the ball. And I was thinking, he's doing really well. Stockdale played really well. And there's a problem as well, because Stockdale is the goalkeeper. You don't want the goalkeeper to play well. In fact, you don't want the goalkeeper to play at all.
No.
Stewart played well. So the three that started in my play well was the left back winger, the centre back, and the goalkeeper. Well, that explains a lot before you start. Also, to mention that Stewart probably had one of the best chances for Wycombe, and he missed. And he is the centre back.
Yeah, it was from a corner, though.
Sorry,
it's from a corner though, so he's expected to be there.
Yeah,
but I mean, you would have rather.
But again, it's saying, isn't it, that the best chance we had was a centre back from a corner, nothing happening up front.
Yeah.
Now, the reason Abita moved from the back three to the top three is simple. The same reason
from the top three to the back three, you mean?
Yeah, to the poor, was the same reason McCleary was actually in my poor three as well. And that is the crosses coming in were shocking. The corners were shocking. The throw-ins were shocking. The crosses were shocking. There was nothing going in the box that anybody could do anything with. Nothing happened. Obita had the ball so much of the time and nothing happened. And that is why, to start with, he had a tick. Oh, he's playing well. He's got the ball so much. He's doing so much running with the ball, but nothing happened. And McCleary wasn't even on the football pitch. This 18-day thing, he was one of the ones it did no favours for. It looked like he was still somewhere else having a party. Hanlon was in that bottom three. He's one of these players that you think has got the talent. Just nothing happens. Nothing happens. And you think, do something. You've got it. The excitement moves up. You know, a bit like Fred for Wycombe, except occasionally he'd produce it. Hanlon doesn't. And it's frustrating. He's really, really frustrating. In a Division 2 team, we must take the teams apart. He's having trouble. He doesn't get the time he wants.
Well, I was speaking to Nathan's friends the other day, and they love Hanlon. Probably for the same reason.
Yeah, it's exciting. You're waiting for it, and it doesn't happen. That's the problem. His shooting tends to be shocking. So he got the ball and run fast, great, take him up, great, and then whittle off the side. And oh God. The question is, human beings are getting taller. Would it be an advantage of making the goals bigger to give them more chance? We'll come to that maybe one other week later. Give Hanlon a chance. Stick a foot on both sides, and that we might stand a chance of Hanlon scoring a goal. And the other one to pick out has to be Thompson. And I pick him out every week, don't I? I'm cruel. I know I'm biased, okay? I'm sorry. I need to talk to Paul and you see a game and ask you and to watch how he gets caught with the ball. He is too slow. I say this all the time. He gets caught with the ball. He is too slow, and so he hacks the players down. How he is not sent off. He is skilled at hacking players down because he doesn't get red cards. I don't know why, other than he's good at it, at hacking players down. But is that what we want in the midfield?
Not particularly.
No, I don't think so. And there you go. I thought that summed up the Ipswich game, really. There is something else I wanted to say about that game, and that is, again, I do criticise commentators rather a lot. And I did, in the end, turn that off completely to make my own mind up. But there's the guy that does the main bloke who's sort of telling you who's got the ball, who's passing it. That's what I want to know, because I want to know about the other team. I want to know who they are and maybe a bit of history. I don't need to know all the, who they're married to and how many kids particularly. But the guy, I don't know who it was, obviously didn't join early enough to be given the guy's name, who was the one that's supposed to have the chit chat during, nothing happening. And I'm going to give you a quick what happened throughout the whole of the game by this bloke. Okay, this is my I'm copying him. This is him. Okay. Well, good. Wycombe's still in the game. We're still in the game. That's good. We need to keep the crowd quiet. Keep the crowd quiet. That's what we need to do, because we're still in the game. Need to get some momentum going. If we could get some momentum going, it'd keep the crowd quiet, because we're still in the game. And that basically was 90 minutes. Those 3 lines of keep the crowd quiet, we're still in the game, and get some momentum going, was all he offered. Oh, so that is why I turned that off. I mean, what a plonker. What a plonker.
Just passionate, isn't
it? Oh, dear, oh dear. That was Ipswich game. I thought we deserved to lose 1-0. I thought that was about right. I thought Ipswich were crap as well. Considering what they've spent, it didn't show. Now, on to the next game. Sounds all depressing. Haven't watched Wycombe for ages, and the one I get to watch is see them lose 1-0 at Ipswich. Next one was Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. I'm getting confused what days are what. A bit like my parents wondering why your mother hasn't gone to school to work today here on Monday, the bank holiday.
I forgot it was a bank holiday, to be honest with you, as well. But
well, of course, that's the game we didn't see. You get to see the 2-minute highlight bits. Wycombe's goal. Well, did McCleary turn up to this one? You're taking a wild guess and saying yes, because that making of that goal for Wycombe was top quality, wasn't it?
Classic wing play.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And our friend up front who scored it, Vokes, brilliant, wasn't it? It was not just a tap in. Most players would have put that way over the bar. To get that, I thought that was excellent. He made sure that was going in the net. There was never a question that was going in the net.
I don't think, well, saying most players would have missed it, I think there's probably a little bit of exaggeration. He was literally 2 or 3 yards out. Like, if I'd missed that, then I would be unbelievably disappointed. If you'd missed that, I'd be unbelievably disappointed. I mean, maybe it has come in fast and like it's a bit difficult, but no, he had to get there as well, I suppose. Yeah, it was very good.
It was a good goal.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a very good goal.
Clinical.
Yes, from 2 yards out, yes.
Charlton are doing well at the moment.
Are they?
Kept them quiet, didn't we? We kept the crowd quiet and we got the momentum going, and we were still in the game all the way through.
Well, considering we were winning, we did stay in the game. Yeah.
I also have to say that Vokes, is it your brother's friends don't like him?
No, not particularly.
Why?
Because influences our long ball, boring style of play, as opposed to the kind of bit more ticky-taka on the floor kind of stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's
Well, because
not how I read it.
Because I mean, obviously they watch the games more than me, as to you, but they perceive it as his ability to play the ball on the floor, along with a Mehmeti or Hawken or McCleary, is his ability to do that is a lot less than those three players, for example. So that's what they think.
I find that a bit odd. Vokes is our top goal scorer at the moment, I might add.
Yeah.
He's sticking them in the net for us, that's for sure. He didn't for Stoke, but that's because we're playing his game. Or we're playing a game. I mean, are we playing his game? Because Stoke were long ball in the air and he couldn't score a goal. So what's different?
Well, his minute per goal ratio is 303. So it's about 3 games in which it takes him to score a goal. Which probably isn't that bad, considering most of our wins do come in like 1-0s or 2-0s, and he is not going to score every single one. But I mean, we were saying we want a 20 goal a season striker. He's not going to be that. He's going to be a 15 or so.
I'm a bit surprised because do they like Akinfenwa then? Because isn't he the same in that sense?
I doubt now. No. Well, you don't want Akinfenwa to be your star striker now.
No,
they'd prefer to see Vokes as our off the bench striker as opposed to our starting striker.
So they'd like us to go out and get a completely different type of striker.
Well, I mean, understandably, they're not a big fan of the style of football that we still play and have played for goodness knows how many years.
Well, for their whole life, probably.
Well,
I mean, they're what,
24.
So we've been playing that football
for 10 years
since they were young teenagers.
Yeah. So I feel like it's understandable
since they were young teenagers.
Well, indeed.
Do they want Oxford then, or Milton Keynes style football?
Maybe, yeah. Well, it depends what matters to you. If winning matters to you, or winning half the time and also playing good football.
Football.
We're getting back into that sort of chat, aren't we?
When you've got it, and they've watched Wycombe probably as successfully as they've done, really, it's probably better now than ever football. Which it is. I mean, the moves that Wycombe make today, they wouldn't have done 5 years ago. The players we have, me picking fault with McCleary and Hanlon, we wouldn't have got those players and played that style of football 5 years ago, would we?
No.
I mean, that move that scored that goal, we wouldn't have done that, would we? Fred, maybe, but remember when he turned up, everybody went wild because he was that type of footballer. We hadn't had one that good.
I think the frustrating thing is we've won 13 out of 24. That's 11 games in which we may have played very poorly or not, but 11 games in which it has been long ball and the long ball doesn't work out as well. And that's where it gets frustrating, I imagine, because they see the quality that a Mehmeti or a Hanlon or a McCleary has with the ball on the floor. And commonly, when we do draw or lose, we do go back to that style of football in which it is up to Vokes, and then we try and play off there, and some of that time it doesn't work. So I imagine that's where the frustration comes from.
Vokes isn't there to head the ball in the net, is he, though? He's there to head the ball down to the ground for Mehmeti to take it and whack it in the net. Is usually the way we're playing it, aren't we? We're not playing it out the back. We do play it on the halfway line, just over, in the air, quite often, for Vokes to bring the ball down to win it in that space and take the ball down. So we don't play the ball in our own half, generally, but we try to win the ball just over the halfway line and then play it on the ground, don't we?
I suppose if you were to compare us to another well-known team, then our style is supposed to be as similar to Chelsea as it can be. So if you've got, dare I say his name, Lukaku up front, big guy up front who brings the ball down and gives it off to your Havertz's or your Mounts or your ZX, and that's near enough what we have, along with the two wing backs. So
we don't have all the touches in our half. We try to win the ball in their half and bring it down to our footballers.
Yeah, and then we rely on our defence to keep it at a 1-0 or a 2-1.
But we don't play the Akinfenwa Wycombe Wanderers, where the ball went right up into the penalty area.
No. I think it is that some people have... If it doesn't... I mean, this is just how, human brains works at the end of the day. If you're not winning all the time and the style isn't to your liking, then you're going to pick fault with it and you're going to want to change it.
Because we don't score from dead ball situations like we did. We are scoring with the ball in play. And I wonder how many are headers. Would be interesting to have a look.
I think... No, I think it's just... I don't know. I think I forgot what I was trying to say.
Well, maybe if these... I'll put it bluntly. If these young lads, 24 of the young lads, were around when Tony Adams was manager, maybe they'd really appreciate what they've got at the moment. I mean, but honest, I get it. I get what they're saying.
With the players we have, and the manager we have, we are playing football to our optimum level, I would say. Because we're not going to be able to play it on the ground if you want to keep this manager.
We're not doing bad though on the ground, are we?
No. I don't. I mean it as because they're wanting to see full like tick-tack, all that sort of Barcelona or whatever, as opposed to it being half and half. But with the manager we have and the players we have, that isn't going to happen, and it doesn't happen in League One really. I think they're being a little bit optimistic with what they think we can do as a football team. Not to say that we play bad football, but it's just that's how it works in the lower divisions. Okay,
everybody out there listening to the Wycombe Wanderers slot, there's quite a bit in there. We could discuss how good or bad the results went for us, and they went pretty well, really. Both Oxford and Milton Keynes didn't win, and they're the teams just behind Wycombe with the worries. I think Wycombe really are going for the playoffs, aren't they? Rotherham and Sunderland really are going for that fight, and Wigan, the three of them are going for the two places, I think would be the fair. And the ones that don't get in are the ones expected to try and get up through the playoffs. The other three in those three playoff slots will be the three hoping to get through the playoffs, and Wycombe are hoping to be one of them. And the dangers of Wycombe being kicked out of those playoffs are teams such as Milton Keynes and Oxford. Is that a fair assessment? Can you see the league?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So I think Wigan have got 3 games in hand or something from memory.
They do.
So I think I think that's it. The 3 teams going for the 2 places, and then there's a couple of teams behind the top 6 that are hoping to knock us out. And so we've got to keep it going.
Assuming we have our post-Christmas dip, we do need a run at some point in which we win about 5 or 6 in a row. Would be ideal.
Interesting. I've had a look at all those so-called dips. Most of the teams have had their dips. Yeah. And we need them to have a second dip. Oxford, most of them, Ipswich, Oxford, Milton Keynes, they've all had their dips of about 5 or 6 matches not winning and picking up a couple of draws only.
I mean,
Wycombe have as well.
Yeah. As long as we keep consistent with the kind of pattern that we're in, I think we'll be okay. But a run would be ideal. It gives us a little bit of a cushion.
We could do with not a draw. We could do with like 4 wins on the trot.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go into the last kind of 5-10 games being in 4th as opposed to being in 6th on the edge of the playoffs.
Yeah. But the bonus is, as I said last week or the week before, is that all the top teams we play are all at Adams Park. We've played all the top teams away. That's that's gone, thank goodness. And we've just got to pick up our Adams Park winning run again to stay in there. Okay. We've almost been going 45 minutes, do you believe? 40 minutes, something like that. So we do need to get on to the next topic, which is referees. Please stick with this if you're interested in the Wycombe. This I think is really big, okay? And I never knew so much before I started looking it up. Never knew so much about football before I started doing this show, which is good, I think. I don't think it's made me sad so much. The one thing that has really stood out is money. I never realised about all the money situations regarding football, and that is sad. I want to start this by just saying what happened was we had that really daft situation where one player was sent off, another wasn't, for the same type of foul. The ref looked at the monitor for one, he didn't look at the monitor for the other. We had the same apply again this weekend with looking at the monitor for one and not looking at the monitor for the other in the Arsenal game, Arsenal City game. We get it all the time. We look, and Match of the Day says, yes, that was a foul. He should have been sent off. Why he wasn't sent off, we don't know. Then we get it was never a sending off. He shouldn't have been sent off, but he was sent off. Why did the ref go to the monitor? Why didn't the ref go to the monitor? Was it handball? Wasn't it handball? And so on. Here we go. Do the refs get judged for the game that they ref? Well, let's start with how much they get paid. So how professional and what should we expect from a referee? And then we'll start at the bottom and work our way up about how it all works. The refs are looked after by the Professional Game Match Officials Limited. That's the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, the PGMOL. There's a guy in charge of it, and the bloke in charge of it is the one that worries me straight away, Mr. Riley. who used to be a referee. One little clip worth having a look at on Mr. Riley, the referee, who's in charge of this whole organisation, is it's worth having a look at a game he once did between Manchester United and, was it Arsenal?
Yeah.
And you'll see it on YouTube as the worst refereed match ever. And he was the referee. And if you want to see who judges what is a foul and what isn't, and who's biased and who isn't, that one is worth a watch to see who's in charge of the referees. Now, it gets its funding, this Professional Game Match Officials Limited. It started up in 2001. It gets its funding from the Premier League, the EFL and the FA. Money. In the Premier League, the referees get a wage packet, and it can be anything up to £70,000 a year. For Premier League, it tends to be between 38 and 42,000, unless they're one of the top 10. So they can pick up, on average, say £40,000 wage. That's what they get. Then on the top of that, they get £1,500 per match. So let's say they do 15 matches. They're picking up, he says, with calculator next to him, £62,000 for doing 15 Saturdays.
Yeah.
Plus expenses. They don't have to pay for their travel. In the Championship, it's exactly the same, except they'll get 600 per match. Now, as we go down this sort of whopping triangle, depending on pay, you get into stuff like the Northern League, where they get £53 per game and not a wage, and expenses. So you're now turning into hobby, certainly hobby, unless they've got a rich wife and doing an awful lot of Northern Premier League games. On a Sunday, for doing a 70-minute children's match, they'll get paid 20 quid to 25. So it's pocket money.
Is it worth?
We'll get to that. Now, basic salaries for the guy sat in that box on VAR, or the assistant running up and down the pitch, etc., they pick up £30,000 in the Premier League and £850 per match. Now, this pyramid is split into, I think, is something like about 9 places. So you get you'll get your bottom kiddie teams, and then your sort of this team, Isthmian League, Northern Isthmian League, etc. And you move up, and you'll find that Division 1 and 2 is in its own little league. And then as you get better as a ref, you'll move up into Championship - Premier League, and then Premier League. And then you'll get into the FIFA elite referees, who then end up getting your championships and your England, etc., your big teams. There are, football wise, 850,000 games a year to be refereed. They need referees for that amount of games per year, and there are 32,000 referees. Okay. Even Kieran, when he played on a Sunday, had a proper official, but it was a young person tending
and
to
then
me, who's earning his 25 quid only.
And then you as a linesman.
And me as a linesman. And I never got any money. I never did line, I have to be honest.
Did you not ever do it?
Once. And I was shocking. Because I'm watching your team. You watch your team, not the other team, don't you? And if you're just watching for the line, it's like, no. Okay, there's your facts on the cash, and you're thinking, well, if they're so professional up there in the league, 2-1, if that's their wage, etc., what do they have to do, and where do they get it? This is the bit that made me fall on their side of the fence for their decision making. Last year, you can please butt in, Kieran, you know some of this. Last year, 6,700 refs left out of that 32. This, I mean, like the year before when crowds were in. Okay. It's usually about 25% is the most common every year. 25% of referees pack their bags and go home. And there are 3 reasons. One is they're getting too old. One is they don't earn enough. And the third is the abuse from parents and players. Now, here we go then. This is it. Do you remember any abuse at referees, Kieran? Did you give any abuse to referees?
I would have shouted at a referee, what on earth was that decision?
In those words?
Yeah. I would never have shouted at like personal abuse at them.
No.
Which is what I'm assuming they're talking about.
Well, every week there are 2 incidents of assault on a referee. 2 every week. 100 on average, it's 100 a year. Referees get assaulted
for just making a decision
of being a referee.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened was the referees had to form a group to bring it to deal with all of this. And if you notice, the FA sort of stuck something under their title, didn't they? FA, is it can't remember what it is now, fair play or something
respect
like that.
Or something.
Respect or something like that. Yeah, right. So what we do know is that also, apart from the quarter that leave, they get another quarter join because the numbers don't ever go down. It seems the amount that leave come in. So no problem recruiting referees. There is a no problem there. What is the problem is there is no money in refereeing to train them, for fitness levels. They don't have mentors, tutors. They don't get paid enough at the lower levels. They don't get helped at all. In fact, the refereeing budget is 1.8 million a year, which is less than Gareth Southgate's wage. And that's for the refereeing across the whole, from a Sunday morning to a Sunday afternoon Manchester United match. That is ridiculous. That is, if we want the best refereeing that doesn't crap our games up, we need to pay for it to get the best. We need the training. The referees, they do their little bit of training, don't they, and pass their little certificate. And until they get up, way up on that pyramid, they don't get any help. Only when they've got to the top do they start getting tutors, for instance. Their fitness, there's a certain fitness program for refs, but it's not enough. It's not good enough for the youngsters.
I reckon there's an assumption that a lot of people think that they can just be a referee and just go and do it. Just off their own skill and their own bat, but there's probably a lot more. Well, of course, there's a lot more to it than what they think.
Do you know, because of the abuse, the refs wanted their little group of looking after refs wanted body cameras on to be put on. But the FA said no, because of on Sunday mornings and the like, your football, they wanted child protection and they weren't allowed to have that. Well, I think it's about time they did. And where's my other sheet? One. I lost a sheet. Might have done. Oh, there we go.
Gary Lineker wouldn't do this.
No, sorry. So that's how all that works. Now, before we go on to the bit where the refs get chosen for games, which is also very interesting, and then get judged for their games, which was the bit I wanted to come to in the first place. So I thought that bit was very interesting on how they get paid and recruited. And just to mention that a lot of these refs, the reason why they're all leaving as quick is it's all the youngsters that leave because they do it as a Duke of Edinburgh, or they do it for a PE course, and they tend to not stay longer than 2 years because they get fed up of the abuse from parents from the side of the pitch. Now, I actually got sent off as a parent from one of your games for abuse. I want to make this clear. It wasn't me. It was the guy standing next to me who thought it was hilarious that I was sent back to the car. But the abuse was a youngster standing on a football pitch, and they want to now put youngsters into a different colour refereeing kit so parents know not to abuse 18 and under. I mean, are you allowed then to swear and have a go at anybody up from 19 but don't do it at 18? What's that? You shouldn't abuse anybody, should you?
You should probably be able to tell if they're under 18 anyway. And I'm not sure them being under 18.
You shouldn't be colour-coded to say you can whack him round the head with a hammer, but you can't whack him.
No.
You shouldn't whack anybody.
Doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? It's only the assumption that
they're going to do that. They're going to have yellow socks. If you look out on a Sunday morning, you'll see anybody who'll be wearing yellow socks, I think, next year will be under 18s. That's right, under 18.
I mean, more than anything, I don't think the colour coordination really goes particularly. I'm not sure black and yellow is very good.
No, it's not black, is it? It's going to be purple, I think. Purple and yellow for under 18s.
Yeah. I don't know. It is a bit bewildering, isn't it?
Next bit. So what happens on referee? You've put up with the abuse from parents. You've grown up doing this game. You're finally up there in that you now get given your help, your fitness tables, your blah, 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 and you're young enough under 65 to referee in the Premier League or Championship. So what happens? Well, on the Monday before the Saturday-ish, you get an email at 4 o'clock in the afternoon giving you your next Premier League game. This is how it happens. 4 o'clock on a Monday, you get your next Premier League game. And this has started way back 6 weeks ago. It was decided. And that was with Mark Riley, this Wally referee at the PGMOL. How they decide who gets what game? Well, they have a merit table. They have a points merit table. The refs have a password, their own password, to see how they're getting on in the rankings of referees. I find this unbelievable. I'd love to get one of these passwords and have a look. Be fascinated to know which referees are considered the best. what happens is you then go off and you ref that game. There'll be a former player or manager sat watching that game who will decide on how good you've been. And then it goes back 6 weeks. It will then go back, and based on what happened and what they're going to now look at, they will decide on your game in 6 weeks' time, because the one you're doing next week was decided 5 weeks earlier, and so on and so on. So they're always 6 weeks behind, so to speak. And so they've got now this former player and manager's refs performance table thing that they've looked at. And then they've got the tape of the game, and roughly there are 250 decisions that referee will make or not make that he should have made every game. They will judge that and give it a plus or minus. Based on that plus or minus, they will give you a points table. That points table is sent out to you as the ref, saying whether you had a shocker or a good game or a decent game or whatever. And depending on that, it changes your merit table overall. Decide whether you're a decent ref or not. The ref will get a copy of their decisions based on your game 24 hours beforehand, 24 hours later, and you can appeal. If as a referee you think they have made bad decisions on your decisions, you then stand in front of a 3-person panel to decide on whether they will give you more points and you were right, or they need to take them away because actually you made more shockers than you think you did. The merit table, apart from the merit table, so now they've got all their refs in an order of who they consider to be the best and the worst. Now they decide on who gets what game, because they can see their best referees for the Liverpool-Everton game and their best referees for the Chelsea-Liverpool game, their best referee for the City-United game, where it's going to take good refs to get that one right. And that's why we end up with refs in Division 1 and 2 that are crap, by the way, because we will get the refs at the bottom of the merit table, not the top. But now, before they hand out, they've got their refs in order. Now they look at the Liverpool versus Everton match. Now they've got to decide who they give the game to. Well, they look at their loves and hates of referees. Anybody that supports Liverpool, well, they're obviously straight out. An Everton refereeing supporter is straight out. Where do they live? If they're too close, they're out. If their son-in-law plays for Everton, they're out, etc. And they start looking at who they watch, not even if they support. If they happen to watch a team more than they watch any other team, they'd be out. For instance, me, who do I support? I support Wycombe Wanderers, but I have a soft spot for Liverpool and a soft spot for Arsenal. So those two are gone. I would never get a Wycombe, a Liverpool, and Arsenal match. I hate United, gone. I would never get a United game. City, don't particularly like City. I would never get it. In fact, I'm slowly going down the table. I'm not going to end up with anybody, is the honest truth.
No.
But
you don't like anyone.
So they go then onto common sense. So if the referee that did not send off our friend who cobbled Mr. Centre-back, the goalkeeper who Pickford, who took out our friend, that
Van
referee
Dijk
will not be refereeing a Liverpool-Everton game for a while, because it's not that he would be seen as biased, but he made a decision that fans didn't like enough that if he walked onto a pitch to referee a Liverpool-Everton game, the Liverpool fans would go absolutely spare. So you won't see him referee a Liverpool-Everton game for years. Okay, so Clattenburg for instance, didn't referee a Merseyside derby for 6 years because he sent 2 Everton players off in one game that didn't go down well. So he didn't get one of those games for 6 years. Now you can see why it takes them 6 weeks before making a decision, and those 6-week meetings every week for 6 weeks' time can often take up to 3 hours, and there's lots of ifs and buts, and eventually they sort it all out who's getting what game. And that's how you find out which referee you're getting. So we've sorted out their play, the abuse, and how they pick referees. Now remember, that's why in Division 1 and 2 we get the shockers, because on this merit table they're at the bottom. Okay, but then we come to the real plus of Division 1 and 2 and the real negative of the Premier League. That term, I guess we will never know, is a great term to have in Division 1 and 2. We'll never know whether it was really a penalty. We'll never know whether it was handball. We'll never know how dirty that foul was. We saw it once at a distance. The referee made a decision. That was the end of the decision. VAR. This does come into play. We have a referee sat in the VAR room making his mind up. We have a referee on the pitch who gets a little earpiece told to go and have a look at a screen. Sometimes he's told, sometimes he isn't. What is handball? What isn't? Oh boy, what a mess. VAR will solve black and white. The online goal line technology that came in 2014 works. It's black and white. It is clear. Has that ball crossed the line or hasn't it? That is clear. Problem with VAR is it highlights problems without answers. So we have more problems with no answers because it's about observing something and putting that, then doing something about it. Simple as that. You observe it, do something about it. Ref doesn't see it, told in earpiece, wait, you need to see it, or didn't you see it? Don't worry, it's no big deal. We'll look at it, and then you do something about it, which could be nothing or a sending off. Why do we use it? Well, we shouldn't. In my book, we shouldn't use it, and there's big arguments for and against, and I'll tell you why I'm against. Number one is, I guess we will never know, is a better answer than it makes it clear, and I think this and you think that. What happens, the reason why it's around is because it's so important to get the answer right with relegation, money, winning. It's so important. But the problem is it causes so many problems. Why and when do they use VAR? Goals, penalty decisions, direct red card instance, and mistaken identity. Mistaken identity, wipe that one off. It was bad. Sure, that can sort that out. It's been done before when they got the wrong player and sent somebody off when it was in fact a different player. Well, it clears that one up. It's clear and obvious. But let me give you an instant. In February last year, February 21, Hudson-Odoi, Greenwood clashed, boom, in the box. Chelsea appeal wanting a free kick for handball. They thought Greenwood handballed the ball, and it was a free kick to Chelsea. Well, in fact, VAR clears that up. It wasn't handball by Greenwood. It was handball by Hudson-Odoi, who he touched the ball with his arm, in fact, well, his hand, in fact, but the penalty wasn't given. Why? Well, it's not clear cut. There's a gap between observing something and putting and applying it. It's called interpretation. It's an interpretation of whether he handballed it or not. There's no answer. Was it deliberate? the boundary of the arm. Did he make his body bigger? And so that's interpretation. It does not make it clear, black and white. So now what are we doing? What we're doing is we're changing the rules so that VAR works. They changed the rules in 1920 for handball. They changed the rules and there were more penalties. So they eased the rules. Didn't change the rules the second time, just eased them. So back in November 1920, Hudson-Odoi, that would have been.
You mean 2019, 2020?
November 20.
Yeah, it makes it sound like it's in 1920, about 100 years ago.
Oh, sorry, 2020. Yeah, November 2020. That would have been, Hudson-Odoi's would have been a penalty. 3 months later, in February 21, that was no penalty because they'd eased the rules. First of all, they changed it, then they eased it over a 3-month period because referees in their meetings were told, ease this rules, it's not helping the game. So 3 months, between 3 months, one was a penalty and one wasn't. Where are we coming at? Make the lines bigger. Does he move his arm? Doesn't he move his arm? Block, don't block. We're changing the rules so that VAR can work. And that is not good for the game. We were far better off, were we not? I guess we'll never know. When there's a handball in Division 1 or 2, it's handball. That's the end. It's handball. And we know what handball is. Put his arm out, stop the ball. Put his arm out, stop the ball. He stopped the ball going in. You know he stopped the ball. I don't think he did. No, I do. Well, they got a penalty and missed, so it don't matter. No, it don't matter. Now, was it or wasn't it? Shearer says it was. Lineker says it wasn't. It's not clear. Players don't know whether they're coming or going. We don't know what the rules mean. We don't know what the rules are. They ease it 1 week, don't ease it the next. They hand out penalties to 7 players, 7 games in one week, don't hand out any the following. We don't know. I don't know why Kieran's gone off the screen there. I don't know whether sorry, we seem to have. I'm going to pause it here. Okay, Kieran's just had a power cut, so I'll just finish and won't discuss the other games. We will finish with this. But what I'm trying to say is that VAR means we're now having to change the rules of football to fit VAR. And that is not right. I'd rather just, it was obvious. What was obvious was that is a handball. That wasn't a handball. And I'm not sure, I didn't really see it. And the ref didn't really see it, etc. Because once upon a time, if it hit the guy there, it wasn't a handball. Now we look at it, well, did it touch him here? We're not sure. Well, they're not decisions really, and the VAR has caused us real grief over these. Now I'm going to finish with the Kieran says goodbye, by the way. I'm going to finish with the rules for yellow and red cards, explaining why referees have such a problem. Now I want you to listen and tell me, well, not tell me, but have a think about how you interpret these decisions. A yellow card offence is unsporting behaviour. What's unsporting behaviour? Dissent by word or action. Foreign players, do you learn everything? I don't know. Persistent infringement of the laws of the game, delaying the restart of play, failure to respect the required distance when play is restarted with a corner kick, free kick or throw-in, entering or re-entering the field of play without the referee's permission, deliberately leaving the field of play without the referee's permission. Now, I would say the majority of them are not black and white. The majority of them is referee's opinion. And that will always, depending on who the yellow card goes to, vary between people. Listen to Radio 5 after a football match and listen to the fans' opinions for that one. What is considered a red card offence? Serious foul play and violent conduct. Mane's in the player's face. Was it serious foul play? Was it violent conduct? What was it? Yellow card, red card. Unsporting behaviour, was that a yellow? That's a yellow, you see. I mean, I don't know. Spitting at an opponent. Red card is spitting at an opponent or any other person, denying the opposing team a goal or an obvious goal-scoring opportunity by deliberately handling the ball. This does not apply to a goalkeeper within his own penalty area. Denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity to an opponent moving toward the player's goal by an offence punishable by a free kick or a penalty kick. Using offensive, insulting or abusive language or gestures. Receiving a second caution in the same match. A player, substitute or substituted player who has been sent off must leave the vicinity of the field of play and the technical areas. Well, you interpret one thing one way and I will another. And referees then get judged on their decisions on that, and it goes up a merit table deciding who gets what game. How do referees, put the merit table together, how do they judge referees? Because we can't, and we can't judge decisions with the VAR. I'd love to know how they judge referees as well, because I started this and I'll end with, haven't got a clue. Thanks for joining me. Kieran says goodbye. I'll say goodbye. That's been an hour and a half roughly. Won't discuss any of the games. Spent ages on Wycombe, and have a great new